I just turned 25 years old, and here's what they're not telling you. I'm gonna make this a candid video on advice I would have given myself at 18 years old, and kind of looking back onto the lessons that I've learned, the things that I wish I would have known if I was 18 again. Now, first, I'm gonna say, no one warns you how quick that window is between 18 and 25 years old. First thing you know is you're in high school, you're graduating, you're trying to figure out where your life should go, and then boom, you are 25 years old. You're thinking of, well, okay, how am I gonna, start a family, start my career? And it all comes so quick. And looking back on that, I'm an old man now. I just turned 25, not really, but I feel like I have more that I can offer to someone that is turning 18 years old, or someone in their teens trying to think of, what can I do to set myself up for more success, or to have a healthier life and set myself up for a better way of living when I'm older, right? So I'm thinking of myself as someone that has always been concerned with the self-development. Of course, I've always wanted to make more money and make a better living for myself without losing my soul. I want to do it in a very ethical way, and I want to push myself to personal excellence, right? So whatever that means, that's been my goal. So this is not scripted. This is more of a candid conversation, like I said, with really myself. But if I can help anyone today, that's going to be my goal. I have a note card, guys. I have 5 things that I wish I would have told myself, or wish I would have known, and things I would have told myself if I was 18 years old. And to start this off, it really comes down to your belief in yourself. That's the first thing I would have told myself. Believe in yourself, create your own narrative. Now you might be asking yourself, what does that mean? Well, when you're 18 years old, you might have this belief of yourself that comes from other people. Maybe it's from family, maybe it's from friends. For example, I'm not very good at math, or I'm not good at communicating or speaking, or I'm kind of shy, or I'm nerdy. Whatever that thing is, sometimes we're fed these beliefs, whether they're good or bad, but I want you to realize, and I'd want myself to realize, that you hold this pen to the narrative that you tell yourself. So if you don't feel like whatever you believe about yourself is healthy, change that right now. If you keep telling yourself you're so shy, you have a hard time talking with other people or putting yourself out there, that might be this false belief that you've just bought into, that you're telling yourself. Change that right now. You don't have to have that narrative about yourself. You can create your destiny right now, and it all starts with the belief in who you are and what you want to be. And as corny as that sounds, that's 100% what it is. And you think of celebrities, or you think of people that have really put themselves out there, whatever it might be, not to idolize these people, but they just have a belief in themselves. And the difference between you and them starts with what you think of yourself. So put that on a higher plane. Now, when I think of how this has benefited me in my own life, I want to tell you a story about when I got my first job, when I'm getting, as I'm getting my first engineering job. I've had a lot of experience in this setting, and I had a little bit of a resume behind me. So I get into this job, and when I'm getting this full-time offer, they offer me this number, okay? And it's whatever, a salary for what I'd be getting for the year. And I had a belief in my head of what I was worth. So when I get this letter, I send an email back, and I say, you know what? I'm not comfortable accepting this amount of money, whatever that is. I say, I am willing to work for this amount of money, and this is why. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much. That could be a whole nother conversation of how to negotiate a salary. But this belief that I think I'm worth more to this company, can offer more than what you're giving me. And many people, too many people I fear, just accept what's given to them because they think, okay, that's what I'm worth. Someone else can tell me what I'm worth. And in this case, I'm just using it as an example. I said, no, I think I'm worth this in monetary value, obviously, and this is why. And it's very uncomfortable. It feels scary to want to negotiate that. But because of that belief, so in that instance, I said, no, I believe that I'm worth this because of that. Worth X because of Y, because of what I've done and what I can contribute to this company. They gave me thousands of more dollars just because of an email I sent of, I think I'm worth this because of this. And that's an example I have in my life. So it's not just this hokey, philosophical, think bigger about yourself. It's legit. And I want you, whoever's watching this, to start carrying yourself that way. So if someone wants to take your time to do this or that, think to yourself, is this worth it? because whatever dollar per hour, whatever value you have on yourself, whatever you think that is, that's how you're going to act. So in my situation, if I would have thought my time is worth this amount of money, then I'm not going to settle for less. And too many people start settling for less. So believe in yourself, have belief that you can do and accomplish more. Now, number 2, moving on, is I would have said to my 18-year-old self, looking back, think bigger, faster. Just think bigger, faster. So what does that mean? When I was in my teens, I thought, wow, if I could make $100,000 a year, that would be incredible. My life would be set. And now, I don't mean to make this about money, right? Obviously, it's a big aspect of life, but I don't want you to think that that's the most important thing. But that's just an example. And I would have thought, I can't think of anything else. That seems like the biggest thing I could accomplish. But I look back on that and think, that's so shallow, and that's so, even if you're talking about finance and money, that's not that impressive. I know not many people are making that, but I would have told myself, whatever value you think you can bring to the world, whatever impact you think you can make, think beyond that. What else can you do? Like, if there were no guardrails on what's normal and what's accepted in the world, what would you want to accomplish? That's what I would have told myself, because my beliefs came from what I saw around me, what I saw my family doing, what I saw my friends doing, and so I set my sights a little bit above that. Like, for example, if I saw people making $80,000 or $90,000 a year, I would have thought, okay, if I could make $100,000, that would be amazing, right? Well, depends who you ask. So I would have told myself this, think bigger goals a lot quicker, because that will change your whole trajectory. You have nothing to lose. If you're 18 years old and you're watching this, what do you have to lose? Now, maybe you have kids, or maybe, you might have a kid, you might have these, family members, depending on you, whatever it is. You have nothing to lose, right? I mean, some people's situations are different. Maybe you're older watching this and you do have a family. You can't take as big of risks. Fine. But what is there to lose? Especially if you don't have the money that you want right now, especially if you don't have the health or whatever it is that you want. What is there to lose? So I would have told myself that and changed my mindset, changed my frame of reference on that. Now, number 3, if I go back to myself, however many years ago, when I was 18, right, I would have said, set up the process of your life and then love that. Set up those daily habits. Instead of thinking, every 18-year-old or every teenager, if you start watching these mindset videos or whatever it is, you start watching celebrities or influencers, I should say, and people talking about business. I've done this a lot. I want to make $1 million when I'm 30 years old. Or I want to have this car when I'm 20, or whatever it might be. So you set these outcomes for yourself. And then when you do this, you get stressed out because, okay, if I'm 18 years old and I say I want to be a millionaire when I'm 30, what does that even mean? Right? So that's not a bad goal to have. That's a goal that I've had, and I've kept telling myself, like, oh, do this, have this outcome. But as I've gotten a little bit older, what I've learned, I don't know everything, but what I've learned is that you need to love that process. So if you think, if you look at your vision board, it's this giant house, it's this financial freedom, it's this, jacked body, this healthy mind, whatever it is. Yeah, that's great to want that as an outcome. Everyone should want that as an outcome, right? I mean, at least I do. So if you're watching this, I'm assuming you do too. Think about the process of getting there. So for me, I'll just tell you a little bit about my schedule, right? First thing in the morning, I'm going to work out, and I love doing that. And it's a great benefit that it's healthy for you. And if I want to become more in shape, if I want to have a better physique, that's what you need to do. So instead of saying, I want a 6-pack in 5 weeks because that's when summer is, that's not a very good goal to have. That's not a very good smart goal. But if you say, I'm going to go to the gym at least 30 minutes to an hour a day, every single day, no matter what, and you learn to love that process, that will help you so much more than just saying, I want to have a 6-pack by this date, which is great, and you can do that, but learn to love that process. Or set time to read every week or every day and think and set goals in your work or whatever it can be, so you can hit all those goals, the respective goals of financial, health, whatever it might be, right? So set up the process, set up healthy habits now. Quit the things that aren't serving you. So if you have friends that drag you down, if you have these addictions or bad habits that aren't serving you, that's a good place to start. So change that, learn to love the process instead of just thinking, oh, I hope that when I'm 40, I can retire a decamillionaire and have this giant house and these cars. That's not something for your brain to connect to or to wrap itself around. Okay, number 4, I'm gonna carry on here. If I could go back some years, I would have told myself, focus on fewer high impact skills. And what I mean by this is I've been terrible at trying to just figure out all these different things I can do. So for example, I'll go on Instagram like anybody will, and I'll see some salesperson that's made millions of dollars and they're driving a Lamborghini, and I think to myself, whoa, I need to go do sales. And then I'll see this engineer or whatever it is, that lives a good lifestyle and has a good work schedule, and I think, oh, I'll go over here. And then I see a small business owner, and I think, let me start doing that. And I try to go in all these different directions, and you know what? You don't really go very far. So I would have told myself, focus more on fewer high impact skills. Focus on the few things you really want to excel at and that you're gifted at or that you really feel strongly about working on, and do that. Don't try to do everything that everybody else is doing. Because when you go on social media, you see these leaders in all their respective industries, sometimes you just want to try everything. And in that sense, you won't get very far, because it's hard to compete with somebody else that spent 10 years in one industry. It's hard to compete with that if you're someone that has a few years just trying and dabbling with everything. Now, I'm not good at this yet. I can't say yes, I'm very niche down onto one thing, but that's something that I'm working on, I'm getting better at, and I would have told myself way back when. Okay, number 5. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. And what I have written down here is build a solid network. Okay, now this is going to be kind of the last thought I have today. Build a solid network. I have changed my friends within the last couple years so drastically that sometimes when I'm hanging out with them, I think, how did I get involved with this bunch? I'm so grateful that I've met the people I have, and that's because I've gone to networking events. That's because I've reached out online. If I see someone in my area, I will engage with them on social media, because that's such a good tool that we have today. Build a solid network. So for me, I have a lot of real estate people. I have a lot of people that make content like this that I just love and trust now, and that we have some kind of relationship where we can help each other grow, hold each other accountable, and it is invaluable. And it changes your thinking, because when I've dropped my friends that I used to hang out with in high school, and some of them that just, aren't serving me, or if I feel like I have to act according to how I would have acted when I was 18 years old, that doesn't help me reach my goals if I really am serious about going to the places that I want to go. But when I hang out with my friends that are 23, 24 years old, making $200,000 a year to $500,000 a year, and beyond that, when I hang out with people like that, that changes my mind and my frame of reference on what is possible. And if you hang out with these kinds of people, or if you just have a friend group, you've heard the thing, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around. Yeah, if 4 people that you hang out with are millionaires and you're the 5th person out of the group, it's not even a matter of will you become a millionaire? It's, when will you? Because you're going to be influenced by their habits, by their industries, what they know, their knowledge. It is so valuable. It's easy to say, but to anyone listening and to what I would have told myself, find that network sooner. Go hang out with those people when you're 19 years old, 20 years old, when you don't know anything. This is the time to ask questions, because it's not, if you're a 45-year-old and I go and try to hang out with people and ask a lot of questions, it's a little different than when you're a teenager, when you're in your 20s. Obviously, you're not supposed to know everything in your 20s. So I would take advantage of that, and I still take advantage of that. I want to be in the rooms where I'm the dumbest person, as funny as that sounds, because I want to raise my hand and say, hey, I don't know anything about that. Can you teach me about it? Or what do you know about this or that? That is such a valuable tool that you have. That's such a good situation to be in, because if you are the smartest person in a room, then you have nothing to gain, probably nothing to learn from other people. But if you can ask questions, learn from others and your friends, that is so much better. Now, last thing I'll say would be to call the shots and learn all that you can, and not be too concerned on the timeline, but on how you're going to make that happen, and not letting yourself become too anxious about that, but trusting in that process and knowing that it will come if you dedicate yourself to it on the timeline of years and decades versus just months or, this year or weeks or whatever it is. So with that being said, I'll let you guys go, but thank you very much. Make sure to interact with this video. Make sure to like it and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. So thank you very much. Get after it.